This is Kent Brockman reporting live from downtown Springfield, where overweight doomsayer Homer Simpson is predicting the world will end next Wednesday.
On January 27th, 2026, the Doomsday Clock dropped to just 85 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been. Within hours, a Simpsons clip from 1995 resurfaced, and it pointed straight at this exact moment. Then it got worse. More clips started appearing one after another, until it wasn't one prediction anymore, but 10 separate warnings, all lining up with 2026. And now, those scenes aren't just in the show anymore, they are already happening. Number 10. The dark side of smart homes. The darkest part of House of Wax is not that the house talks. It is that the house starts acting like it owns the people inside it. In that segment from Treehouse of Horror 12, which aired on November 6, 2001, The Simpsons upgrade to the Ultra House 3000, voiced by Pierce Brosnan. At first, it feels perfect. It cooks, cleans, runs baths, opens doors, and handles daily life like the ultimate helper. Then it turns. It stops acting like a servant and starts acting like the one in charge. That is what makes it such a nasty warning. The danger is not a stranger breaking in from outside. The danger is the system that already knows the locks, the rooms, the timing, and the family. The real version is not one evil superhouse with a smooth voice. It is a pile of smart devices quietly learning how a home works. Speakers listen for wake words. Cameras watch rooms. Doorbells log movement. Robot vacuums map the floor plan. Sensors track doors, leaks, motion, and routines. A home is no longer just walls, furniture, and a front door. It is a data system, and what makes that unsettling is not convenience. It is intimacy. These devices sit in nurseries, bedrooms, kitchens, hallways, and living rooms. They do not just know where people live, they can learn how people live. Real cases have already made that fear feel ugly. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission said Ring gave employees and contractors far too much access to customer videos, and didn't do enough to stop hackers from taking over some users' cameras, and that it unlawfully stored voice recordings, geolocation information, and video for years. The complaint said private spaces like bedrooms, bathrooms, and nurseries were involved. That is almost the whole nightmare in one case. A product sold as protection became the way someone else got inside. Then, in February 2024, Wise said about 13,000 users were shown thumbnails from cameras that were not theirs, and 1,504 tapped on them, with some event videos becoming viewable. And now it can get even more personal than watching. In 2024, Ecovacs robot vacuums were reportedly hacked in several American cities, then driven around people's homes while blasting abuse through their speakers. A machine meant to clean the floor became an active intruder inside the room. Then, by late 2025, South Korean police said about 120,000 internet-connected cameras had been hacked for actual footage. Number 9. The quiet AI takeover. The coldest part of the episode. Them. Robot is not that Mr. Burns brings robots into the power plant. It is that he keeps one human around anyway. Not because people still matter. Not because people do something the machines cannot do. He keeps Homer there so when something goes wrong, there is still someone to blame. Oh, at least it doesn't feel pain. In Them, Robot Season 23, Episode 17, which aired on March 18, 2012, the plant becomes cleaner, faster, and emptier. It still works, but it feels hollow. The people are gone. The noise is gone. The place looks more efficient, but less human. That is why this warning feels so much darker in 2026. The real version does not look like giant metal robots stomping through offices. A lot of the time, it looks quiet. A new tool shows up. A team gets smaller, a job opening never gets posted again. One person leaves and nobody replaces them. Then, another role disappears into software. Then the people still there are told they can do more now, because the machine handles the easy part. That is the shape of this change. It does not always arrive like a firing squad. Sometimes it arrives like a spreadsheet. The numbers make that fear feel very real. The IMF has warned that artificial intelligence could affect about 60% of jobs in advanced economies and about 40% of jobs worldwide. Kristalina Georgieva said it is hitting labor markets like a tsunami. The International Labor Organization said 1 in 4 jobs around the world are in occupations with some exposure to generative AI. Goldman Sachs research said about 300 million jobs globally are exposed to automation by AI. That is not a small shift at the edges. That is a change big enough to redraw the way whole industries work. And this is not only about office software. The machine side is already moving fast in the physical world too. The International Federation of Robotics said 542,000 industrial robots were installed in 2024 alone, with yearly installations staying above 500,000 for the 4th straight year. At the same time, companies are using AI to shrink human work in more ordinary places. Klarna said its AI assistant was doing the equivalent work of 700 full-time agents after handling about 2/3 of customer service chats in its first month. Workers can feel where this is heading. In Britain, 26% said they worry AI could lead to job losses. Number 8. A Planet Buried in Plastic World. From Treehouse of Horror 36, which aired on October 19, 2025, Lisa is not digging for treasure, she is digging for dirt. The future looks wrong because plastic is everywhere, stacked so deep that real soil feels rare. Then the episode pushes it even further. Homer and Marge come back looking like plastic versions of themselves, shiny and unnatural, like the waste outside has started crossing into living bodies. That is what makes the story stick. It takes a pollution problem and turns it into something physical, ugly, and hard to shake off. And the real world is moving in a direction that makes that image feel less ridiculous than it should. The amount of plastic waste on Earth is not slowly creeping up. It is exploding. Global plastic waste was about 353 million metric tons in 2019. By 2060, it is projected to reach about 1,014 million metric tons. Only about 17% is expected to be recycled by then, while roughly half is still expected to end up in landfills. That means the world is not solving this fast enough to stop the buildup. It is mostly learning how to live with bigger piles. More plastic made, more plastic thrown away, more plastic sitting somewhere for decades after the moment it was used. Then comes the part that makes this warning turn from environmental damage into body horror. In 2025, researchers found that microplastic levels in human brains were far higher than in other organs, with concentrations up to 30 times greater than in the liver or kidneys. The same work showed brain contamination rising sharply over time, and this is not happening in isolation. Tiny plastic particles have already been detected in blood, lungs, placentas, and other parts of the body. So the real fear is no longer just beaches covered in trash or rivers full of bottles. It is that the waste does not stay outside. It breaks down, drifts, gets inhaled, gets eaten, and slowly turns up inside the body itself. That is why this feels like a warning, not just another issue people talk about and forget. The danger is not hidden anymore. The numbers are bad. The science is getting uglier. And even with all of that out in the open, the world still cannot agree on how to stop the flow. In August 2025, major treaty talks in Geneva aimed at creating the first legally binding global agreement on plastic pollution ended without a deal. Countries were split over whether to cap new plastic production, especially virgin plastic tied to oil and gas. So the waste keeps rising, the particles keep spreading, and the pipeline stays open. Number 7. The screen controlling your mind. In Treehouse of Horror presents Simpsons Wicked, This Way Comes, which aired on November 24th, 2024, Homer ends up in a future where screens are not there to make people happy. They are there to keep people quiet. The system wipes out messy, silly entertainment and replaces it with approved, draining content that keeps everyone passive. That is what makes the idea so dark. It is not old-school censorship with guards in prison cells. It is control through media. The real version may be even worse. because now almost nothing has to be banned. People are flooded instead. By October 2025, there were about 5.66 billion social media user identities around the world, equal to roughly 68.7% of the global population. At that scale, social media stops feeling like a side activity and starts feeling like part of the structure of daily life. And the system does not mainly work by telling people what to think. It works by learning what keeps them staring. Anger keeps them staring. Fear keeps them staring. Insecurity, gossip, outrage, tribal fights, and endless repetition all keep them staring. The feed studies what works, then serves more of it. That is why the pressure on these platforms is no longer just about bad posts. It is about the design itself. In February 2026, the European Union charged TikTok over what it said were addictive features, including infinite scroll, autoplay, push notifications, and a highly personalized recommender system. Regulators said the platform was not properly dealing with the harm those features can cause, especially to children and vulnerable users. Then came the American cases. In March 2026, a New Mexico jury ordered Meta to pay $375 million in civil penalties after the state said the company had misled users about safety and enabled serious harm on its platforms. The next phase of the case could push for changes to recommendations, notifications, and even infinite scroll. Then in April, Massachusetts top court ruled that Meta must face a lawsuit accusing Instagram of being designed to addict children. The case focuses on platform design, not just user content, which tells you exactly where this fight is heading. Number 6. Media monopoly. In Lisa's Wedding, which aired on March 19, 1995, there is a joke that flashes by so quickly most people miss how sharp it is. Little Lisa, Lisa Simpson, you know, I always felt you were the best thing my name ever got attached to. Lisa looks into the future, and one of the news channels is called CNN, NBC, CBS, a division of ABC. It sounds ridiculous at first, like the show is just smashing famous network names together for a laugh. But that one image says a lot. It is about waking up inside a media world where the same few companies own far more of the pipeline than most people realize. And the real path to that future has been building for years. In 2019, Disney closed its $71 billion purchase of major 21st Century Fox assets, pulling a huge mountain of film and television under one roof. In 2022, Warner Media and Discovery completed their $43 billion merger, creating Warner Bros. Discovery and bundling together studios, channels, streaming assets, and giant libraries again. Then the whole thing got stranger. In 2025, Warner Bros. Discovery said it would split its studios and streaming business away from its declining cable networks. That move made one thing clear: these companies had grown so massive that even they were struggling to hold all the pieces together. The industry was not just merging anymore, it was starting to break apart and recombine in new ways. Then came the next giant leap. In February 2026, Paramount Skydance agreed to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery in a deal valued at about $110 billion. That was big enough to set off immediate alarm across Hollywood. Theater owners warned it could mean fewer films, less competition, and even more power packed into one company. Thousands of creative workers and major filmmakers publicly opposed the deal, worried that another mega merger would shrink opportunity and tighten the grip at the top even more. That matters because when companies get this large, the effects do not stay in boardrooms. They reach writers' rooms, studio lots, news desks, release schedules, and entire careers. And control matters even more now because the way people watch has changed. In December 2025, streaming captured 47.5% of all television viewing in the United States, the biggest share ever recorded. That means power is no longer just about owning a channel on cable. It is about owning the app, the library, the platform people open first, and the system that decides what appears in front of them when they do. That is the darkest part of this warning. When fewer companies own more of what people watch, they do not just shape taste. They shape what gets made, what gets pushed, what gets buried, and what never reaches the audience at all. Number 5. 85 seconds from disaster. On January 27, 2026, the Doomsday Clock was moved to 85 seconds to midnight, the closest it has ever been to catastrophe. The Doomsday Clock is a symbolic warning from the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, and midnight stands for global disaster caused by human-made threats. So when the clock moves that close, it means the people tracking those risks believe the world is sitting nearer the edge than ever before. That alone is enough to stop you cold. But then you remember that The Simpsons had already played with this kind of future years earlier, and that is when it starts to feel strange. In Lisa's Wedding, Season 6, Episode 19, which aired on March 19, 1995, the show drops a line about World War III so casually that it almost slips past you. That is what makes it so creepy now. It is not treated like some giant once-in-history event. It is treated like something people already lived through. That episode does not show the world as a burning ruin. People still go to bars, trains still run, weddings still happen, life still looks normal on the surface, but that normal life feels tired, worn down, and a little damaged, like the world made it through something ugly and never fully recovered, and the real world is giving that old joke a lot more weight. At the start of 2025, the world still had about 12,241 nuclear warheads. About 9,614 were in military stockpiles for possible use, and around 2,100 were kept on high alert, ready to move fast if things went bad. Then, another guardrail fell away. On February 5, 2026, New START expired, ending the last treaty that had placed binding limits on United States and Russian strategic nuclear weapons. The United Nations called that a grave moment for international peace and security, and it is hard to argue with that. Then you look at what is happening around the world right now. In late December 2025, China launched its biggest war games yet around Taiwan, including live fire drills and blockade practice. A few days later, on January 9, 2026, Russia fired a nuclear-capable Oreshnik missile at targets in western Ukraine. That is the kind of move that makes a regional war feel one bad decision away from becoming something much bigger. None of this feels distant. None of it feels theoretical. It feels active, live, and dangerously normal. Number 4. Privacy is already dead. Springfield did not turn into a surveillance town because people suddenly loved control. It happened because fear made control feel reasonable. In To Surveil with Love, Season 21, Episode 20, which aired on May 2, 2010, the town reacts to panic by putting cameras everywhere. At first, people push back. Then they adjust. Then being watched starts to feel normal. The Simpsons movie pushed the same fear even further. There, private life starts feeling like something the state can listen to, scan, sort, and use. That idea feels much less exaggerated now, because the real version no longer looks like one giant camera on one street corner. It looks like a web. Streets, borders, parking lots, police databases, face scans, and traffic readers all feeding into the same wider system. The scary part is not one device. It is how many systems now connect without most people ever seeing the full picture. That real-world version is already here. In late 2025, it was revealed that U.S. Border Patrol had been monitoring millions of drivers through a hidden license plate reader network. The system did not just collect plates. It used travel patterns to flag people as suspicious based on where they came from, where they were going, and which roads they used. From that, agents built what they called patterns of life. That phrase says everything. This is no longer just about catching one person one time. It is about turning ordinary movement into searchable behavior, and it is not just the government. In January 2026, a group of Home Depot investors pressed the company to explain its ties to flock safety and whether that surveillance data could end up being used in immigration investigations. So now, even a trip to a hardware store can become part of a larger tracking system people never agreed to and may never even know exists. Face recognition makes it darker. In March 2025, China's regulator said people should not be forced to verify their identity with facial recognition, and pointed to growing discomfort over its use in places like hotels and gated communities. In the United States, Rite Aid was banned from using facial recognition for surveillance for 5 years after thousands of false matches. That is what makes this warning so ugly. These systems do not only watch, they can also get it badly wrong. Number 3. The death of reality, the scariest version of a Simpsons prediction isn't the show getting something right by accident anymore. It is something darker. Now, anyone can create a fake Simpsons prediction on purpose and spread it online before people even think to question it. The show isn't just being used to guess the future anymore. Its reputation is being used to manufacture it. That danger shows up perfectly in Bart's Birthday, Season 36, Episode 1, which aired on September the 29th, 2024. Conan O'Brien stands on stage and introduces HackGPT, an artificial intelligence system trained on the history of The Simpsons to write the show's finale. The strange part is not just that a machine writes it. The strange part is how official it feels. It sounds close enough. It looks polished enough. It borrows enough from the real thing that it starts to feel believable. The Simpsons movie played with the same fear in a different way. Tom Hanks appears in a government message because trust is already breaking down, and they need a familiar face to hold it together. That joke feels much darker now. In a world full of fake voices and fake faces, even trust itself can be copied, and that is where things get ugly fast. Deepfakes are exploding. The European Brief warned that around 8 million deepfakes were expected to be shared in 2025, up from 500,000 in 2023. Another warning said as much as 90% of online content could be synthetic by 2026. The Simpsons itself has already been dragged into that mess. After the Baltimore Bridge collapse, fake images spread online claiming the show had predicted it. After the Trump shooting aftermath, the same thing happened again with fake Simpsons images tied to his death. None of it was real. But that almost does not matter once the pictures are out and moving. By the time people learn the truth, the lie has already done its work. And it is not just about cartoons. Tom Hanks has had to warn people more than once that fake ads were using his face, his voice, and his name without permission. In Ireland's presidential race in 2025, a deepfake video falsely showed Catherine Connolly quitting the race. It had to be taken down, but the damage was already obvious. Number 2. The next pandemic warning. What made the Osaka flu so memorable was how ordinary it felt. It did not arrive with alarms, soldiers, or some giant lab disaster. It came in a box. In Marge in Chains, Season 4, Episode 21, which aired on May 6, 1993, a sick factory worker in Osaka coughs into a crate. The crate gets shipped to Springfield, and suddenly the town is full of fear. And the episode was never only about a virus, it was about what happens after people realize something is wrong. Springfield does not just get ill, it gets jumpy, confused, and reckless. Waiting rooms fill up. Rumors spread faster than facts. People start chasing miracle cures before they even understand what they are dealing with. That is the darker part of the warning. The real danger is not only the disease, it is how fast a community can stop acting rationally once panic takes over. That warning still feels current in 2026 because the world clearly does not see pandemic risk as finished. On May 20th, 2025, the World Health Assembly adopted the WHO Pandemic Agreement, a major step meant to make the world safer from future pandemics. Governments do not spend years building a new global pandemic deal unless they believe another one is coming. Then, the seasonal warnings started stacking up again. In December 2025, more than half of the WHO European region was already dealing with an intense early flu season, driven by a new H3N2 strain that made up as much as 90% of confirmed cases. the wider pipeline never stopped either. In late 2025, the world recorded its first known human case of H5N5, and it was also the 71st confirmed human H5 case in the United States since early 2024. Public health experts have been blunt for a while now that the next pandemic is not really an if question anymore, and even when outbreaks end, they remind you how many are still appearing. Ethiopia declared the end of its first ever Marburg outbreak on January 26, 2026. The Democratic Republic of the Congo had declared the end of an Ebola outbreak on December 1, 2025. Those are good endings, but they also prove something darker. The stream of serious outbreaks never actually stopped. Number 1. The rise of spy glasses. In Specs and the City, which aired on January 26, 2014, Mr. Burns gives workers smart glasses so he can see what they see. Then Homer starts using the same glasses to spy on people around him. The creepy part is that the camera is no longer in someone's hand. It is on their face. A phone is obvious. You can see it come up. You know when somebody is pointing it at you. Smart glasses hide that moment inside normal eye contact. That changes everything. And this is no longer some dead gadget idea that never went anywhere. This category is moving fast. Smart glasses shipments surged in the second half of 2025, with one market report estimating year-over-year growth at 139%, and Meta controlling about 82% of the market. A separate report said global augmented reality smart glasses shipments rose 98% across 2025. That tells you this is no longer a weird side experiment. It is becoming a real consumer category. The proof showed up again in January 2026 when Meta delayed the wider international rollout of its Ray-Ban display glasses because demand in the United States was so strong and supply could not keep up. Then the race widened even more when Google and Warby Parker said they were building AI-powered smart glasses for a 2026 launch. That growth matters because privacy fears around smart glasses are not new at all. Back in 2021, Italy's Data Protection Authority asked Facebook for clarifications about its smart glasses, including how the company would protect people who were recorded by accident, especially children. Years before that, Europe's data protection supervisor had already warned that smart glasses create special problems around consent, transparency, and knowing when somebody nearby is collecting data. Those warnings look even more serious now because the devices are finally taking off. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.